Welcome to The Mindful Trainer, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of athletes, coaches, trainers, and guides who have overcome obstacles to reach their goals. I'm your host, Melanie Webb, and today's episode is a special holiday edition. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. And if you've been following along on the conversation so far during this first season, thank you for being here and sticking with me. I've enjoyed your feedback, and I've loved speaking with all of my friends and colleagues on the show. Today, I want to accomplish two things. First, I want to share the training conversation that I'm having with my private clients in Park City as we head into the holidays. And second, as we all start to look toward the fitness goals for the year ahead, I want to share a bucket list story that I call the greatest trip that never happened. Well, let's get on to the episode. All right, you guys, I want to talk about two of the body's most overlooked systems today, fascia and lymph. You know, I had one client who said to me right before Thanksgiving, "Hey, Mel, I'll see you in January. I'm about to eat my way through the holidays." And I was like, "What? What are you doing?" But she was serious. And I made a deal with her. I said, "Okay, cool. You can go eat your way through the holidays, eat whatever you want, but please don't stop moving." It's so easy to do. We just get caught up in the holidays, or we get stressed, or we fall off the wagon and we get into this all or none thinking trap. And we think we suck. And now we're just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and we're not going to work out at all. But I want to encourage you, dear listeners, not to do that, and to approach the days on your, what we would call an off day, like say you're not working out in the gym, or you're not seeing your trainer or coach, or going to your favorite classes. What are you doing on those off days? And understand that what you do on those off days can play a critical role in how you come out of the holiday season. So back to those two most overlooked systems in the body, the fascia and the lymph. Believe it or not, those two can be the keys to staying energized, resilient, and balanced throughout this chaotic season. Now, here's why. We've got the cold temperatures in most places, right? That can lead to vasoconstriction and slower blood and lymphatic flow. Cold temperature habits like stagnation, reduced hydration, migrating indoors can also slow things down in terms of lymph drainage and mobility. Add on the holiday stresses, and all of a sudden you're clenching your shoulders, worrying about your gifts, worrying about travel, all the things, family dynamics. These are sedentary periods that can cause fluid retention. Add that to the food you're about to eat, and you've got a recipe for a tight, swollen, sluggish body, maybe a lot more inflammation than you want. And before you know it, a week later, you've packed on 2 to 4 pounds, right? Here's your mindset shift for your healthy holiday balance. Here's how you might want to approach the holidays to keep those inflammation levels low. Think about having gentle movement on the off days. Things like just standing up and patting your limbs down, bobbing up and down on your calves as you brush your teeth, going for a nice gentle walk after a meal. Don't think that this has to be a long duration. They can be 5 minutes long. Anything to just keep that body moving. And I'm going to invite you to reframe recovery as self-care, not slacking. If I can tell you the number of times I beg my clients to please go get a massage, please go see that body worker, please, don't act like this is a luxury that you're undeserving of. You deserve some self-care. And I don't care what that looks like, whether it's an Epsom salt bath, a 1 minute longer shower with a little essential oil that you love. If it is that massage, I hope everybody listening has a great body worker, somebody you can turn to during injury, or again, just to keep you unwound during all the training that you're doing the rest of the time. But it's really important. Number 3, maintain fascia and lymph flow by moving regularly. So say you are on a long flight somewhere, get up out of your chair, walk up and down the aisle, try a few high knees, butt kickers, straight leg kicks, single leg lunges. I like to do that stuff. I'll walk to the back of the aisle and stand by the bathrooms where I don't bother anybody. And I'll be doing my squats and my heel raises and my lunges. And then I'll walk up and down that aisle doing my high knees, butt kickers, and straight leg kicks. The idea is just don't sit for long periods of time without moving your body, right? Number 4, train smarter, not harder. I'm sure many of you already know this, but during times of stress, the body produces cortisol, and even the greatest athletes now are tailoring their workouts around those stressful periods. So they might have a lighter workout day. Maybe they're moving less weight, fewer reps, fewer sets, shorter workout. The last thing you want to do when you're stressed out is try to get a PBR, personal best, right? Like, take it easy. Give yourself some love. I've got a little holiday gift for you guys. I'm going to share this in the show notes. If you visit my YouTube channel, it's WebbWell. And I've got a new workout up. It's called Funk to Flow, the 15-minute holiday movement reset to boost energy, mood, and recovery. And it's something you can turn to at any time, play your own music, and just move your body. No weights required. You can do this anywhere. All right, that's my tip of the day for you. And now I want to move on to the greatest trip that never happened. This is a story that I wrote in my book, Adventures in Mother Nature's Gym. If you have been following the podcast for long, or if you're new, I have 3 tenets in my business, WebbWell, and those are body, mind, and nature. Those are foundational to our health. In my programming, if you work with me virtually, if you go to WebbWell and sign up for any of my digital programs, you will find elements of all 3 of those in the workouts and in the overall programming. You know, it's December as I'm recording this episode. As the year comes to an end, we think about what we accomplished and what we want to do next year. And, you know, along the way, it's pretty common that we're going to have some failures in our fitness life. And it takes humility to accept when something doesn't go the way you planned. I want to share this story about a former client. I'm going to call her Sarah. That's not her real name. She found me years ago on her journey to test the boundaries of her comfort zone. This is one of my favorite experiences as a trainer. It taught me a great deal about the complicated dynamics of working with people aspiring to accomplish big things in their fitness and outdoor life. This happened early on as I was experimenting with a variety of service offerings with Soul Fitness Adventures. That's the parent company of WebbWell. And I actually saw my adventure travel preparation service included in Outside Magazine's top 10 list, which was pretty cool. So let's begin. I'm going to read this from my book, The Greatest Trip That Never Happened. Sarah was a 47-year-old and mother of 2 young boys. She became friends with a group of super fit and adventurous women who convinced her to hike Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. A Pennsylvania native, Sarah was not an outdoors woman. Her idea of the outdoors was a nicely groomed beach in Southern California or a walk in the city park. With only 6 weeks to go before the trip, Sarah's husband, Mark, hired me to train her for the trek. She wasn't taking any time for herself, and he was worried about her. While I personally haven't hiked Kilimanjaro, I have some big peaks under my belt, and I'd been a guide in Zion National Park, and I know a thing or two about hiking mountains. One thing I did know about hiking to the top of Kili is that even the world's fittest have succumbed to the high altitude sickness that can happen on that mountain while attempting to make their summit. I was not content with mere gym workouts. So on top of 3 times a week lifting weights and the cardio that I had assigned her, I designed a 6-week multifaceted training regimen to prepare Sarah for her quest. It wasn't enough to have high reserves of cardiovascular and muscular endurance. I wanted to help Sarah prepare mentally for the trip, to offer her the full gamut of sport-specific experiences that would give her a mental and emotional edge in hiking to 19,340 feet above sea level. I called Sarah's program Mount Kilimanjaro Adventure Training. She tackled strength training workouts, like I said, 2 to 3 times a week with resistance. We hiked several times a week in the Santa Ynez Mountains in Santa Barbara. We bought all of her gear, started teaching her how to use it, and scheduled her vaccinations: yellow fever, typhoid, hepatitis A, and diphtheria. The climax, and my favorite part of her training program, was a 3-day high-altitude hiking trip to the Eastern Sierra in California, where she could experience what it felt like to hike all day and then have to sleep on the ground at night. From our home base near June Lake, we did 3 hikes with 2 major ascents. The first was a long but moderate hike in the Ansel Adams Wilderness to Devil's Post Pile. The second day, we hiked to the top of Mammoth Mountain at 11,053 feet. Both nights, we put Sarah's new camping gear to the test, and she slept like a baby. Or so I thought, in a serene meadow next to the Owens River where we called base camp. Our last day was an epic. We joined Sarah's adventurous friends on another full-day hike to White Mountain Peak, elevation 14 of sea level. A mere 249 feet lower than Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the lower 48 United States at 14,501 feet, the elevation of the trailhead alone was situated at 11,000 feet. The trail was long and rocky. It was Sarah's first time being that high in the atmosphere. Not knowing what it looked like that high up, she found the barren tundra landscape above treeline to be boring and ugly. In spite of the negatives, Sarah's fitness levels were up to the challenge, and we reached the summit in good time without any difficulty. Both physically and mentally, Sarah was ready for the trip. Now, Sarah's boys, 10 and 12 years old, had traveled often and loved to go to sleepaway camp. But Sarah herself had never been the one to leave her boys at home while she traveled. Her youngest son researched the trip online, and he learned about the dangers of altitude sickness. Well, he began to have nightmares that his mother was going to die. Sarah began losing sleep over it. During the last 2 weeks leading up to her trip to Kili, Sarah hadn't had more than 4 hours of sleep on any given night. She was tired, troubled, and anxious, and her training started to show it. A few nights before she was to leave for the trip, Sarah invited me to a family meeting with her husband, Mark. I worried that the sleeplessness and the anxiety, combined with the strain of high altitude, could combine into a dangerous cocktail, one that would, at the very least, ruin her trip, and at the worst, result in serious illness. We agreed that if Sarah didn't go see a doctor and get some rest before the trip, she should not go. Now, there's a deeper side to Sarah's story that I think is important to share. During our training, I learned that Sarah was a spiritual woman. I took the risk of being too personal and asked if she'd prayed or meditated about her decision to hike Kili. She told me that she had been praying and trying to get a clear answer, but that she just felt confused and anxious. I shared that from my perspective, that sounded like her answer, and the answer was no. Going to Africa without her husband and sons felt like a huge violation of who Sarah was as a mother, a wife, and a woman. It didn't matter that she was in the comfortable position of being financially able to do anything she wanted to do. Hiking Kilimanjaro without her family simply did not fit into her value system. Sarah was physically ready for the hike. As her trainer, I was proud of her hard work, and I knew that she would do great if she decided to go. But it turned out that going to Africa would be in violation of what was most important to her. Her integrity would be compromised, something that even the summit of one of the world's tallest peaks could never repair. I told her that I would honor and respect her decision not to go if that's what she decided to do. Ultimately, Sarah decided against going on the trip. And a few weeks later, I received a letter thanking me for introducing her and her family to a new outdoor lifestyle. I couldn't have been more proud of a client. To this day, I consider her Mount Kilimanjaro adventure training one of my biggest successes. Now, that might sound like a different approach. A lot of trainers tend to get really caught up in the accomplishments of their client, and we take a lot of pride in seeing our clients accomplish their goals. But again, for me, it's more important that I honor who that person is in front of me and what their value system is. So, dear listeners, I want to just share this story as we begin to think about our goals and our bucket list adventures for next year. And I encourage you to make sure that whatever you choose, that the way you approach it is aligned with your values. That's one of the keys to helping you be successful and not have a tragic story along the way. Of course, you know we're all about the training here. I hope you find some value in some of our content as you prepare for those bucket list adventures. Don't forget to head over to the WebbWell YouTube channel for your 15-minute movement break during the holidays. I want to thank all of you again for your support with this new podcast endeavor. It's been a lot of fun. Please don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend, especially someone who you think might benefit from our programming so far. The Mindful Trainer is the official podcast of WebbWell. I'm your host, Melanie Webb. I'm also the founder and master trainer at WebbWell. To learn more about WebbWell and all we have to offer, please visit WebbWell.com. That's WebbWell. See you next time.